1817, a sea serpent haunted Gloucester's waters. In the summer of 1817, the harbor of Gloucester, Massachusetts, was alive with fishermen hauling nets, merchants loading casks, and children skipping stones along the shore. The sea was calm, a sheet of gray-blue glass stretching to the horizon. Then, on a July morning, a shape disturbed the stillness. Long, black and undulating, it rose and fell in slow arcs, as if an enormous rope were moving beneath the waves. At first, those who saw it thought it must be a school of porpoises, or perhaps a trick of light. But the shape returned day after day, unmistakable, unrelenting. Witnesses swore it measured more than 60 feet, its body jointed like the coils of a serpent, its head narrow and raised above the surf. Men in dories rowed cautiously closer, only to retreat when the creature lifted itself higher, sending ripples that rocked their small boats. Word spread quickly. Soon, dozens gathered along the waterfront, staring out to sea. Merchants and sailors, children and clergymen, each told the same story, their voices tinged with awe. Some claimed to see a dark mane, others swore its eyes glinted like lanterns. The Gloucester Times published accounts, and what might have been dismissed as rumor became something harder to ignore. A local diarist wrote, "We have seen it plainly, a creature of the deep, black and jointed, moving with terrible grace. It is no fish, no whale, but something else." The entry, preserved in fading ink, marked the beginning of a season where Gloucester's quiet harbor became the stage for one of the strangest spectacles in maritime history. As July deepened, Gloucester became a town possessed. Every morning, before the fog had fully lifted, crowds gathered along the rocks and wharves. Housewives left their kitchens. Sailors delayed their departures. Even ministers carried spyglasses to the shore. All eyes turned seaward, waiting for the serpent. And more often than not, it came. The creature would appear in the outer harbor, its long, jointed back rising in a slow rhythm, one curve after another, like the arches of a submerged bridge. Some counted 10 humps, others swore they saw 20. Its head, narrow and reptilian, lifted just above the surf before vanishing again, always moving steadily toward the open sea. The reports multiplied. A fisherman claimed he had rowed within 100 yards, describing a head like a snake, but large as a horse's, dark with a pale ring about the neck. Another insisted it spouted water like a whale, though others denied it. A child said she saw its eyes, bright as fire, though no one else confirmed the glow. The variety of details did not lessen belief. It made the tale more alive. Merchants arriving from Boston carried word back inland, and soon Gloucester was overrun with visitors. Carriages lined the roads, filled with the curious and the skeptical. The town's inns were full, taverns loud with arguments. Some declared it proof of old legends, the sea dragon of Norsemen. Others laughed, calling it a trick of waves and imagination. Yet even the skeptics stood on the shore, waiting. For weeks the serpent swam, never close enough to be caught, never distant enough to be denied. In Gloucester, it seemed the ordinary had bent into myth, and the sea itself had chosen to keep the town spellbound. By August, the Gloucester Sea Serpent had become more than rumor. it was testimony. The town magistrate collected sworn statements from dozens of citizens, each willing to put reputation on the line. These were not drifters or drunkards, but respected merchants, clergymen, and ship captains. Their accounts were written with the same gravity as deeds or contracts. Captain Solomon Allen, a veteran of the sea, declared the creature measured at least 80 feet in length, moving with the undulation of a caterpillar, yet with the speed of a whale. Reverend Amos Story swore to its serpentine form, dark in color, with numerous joints or humps visible above the water. A group of fishermen testified that it swam so near they could hear the wash of water breaking over its back. Children added their voices too, sketching crude drawings of the beast with chalk on wharf planks. To them it was not terrifying, but wondrous. A monster that belonged to their harbor as much as gulls or cod. Meanwhile, skeptics from Boston arrived to scoff, only to leave unsettled after witnessing the long shadow move across the waves. Newspapers published these testimonies verbatim, spreading the story far beyond Gloucester. Each account differed in detail, but together they formed a chorus too large to ignore. Some said it was black, others dark brown. Some gave it a horse-like head, others a snake's. Yet all agreed on its immense size and sinuous motion. In the diary of one observer, a line stands stark. So many cannot be mistaken. We have seen it as plainly as the sun on the water. That conviction gave the tale endurance, turning gossip into record and record into legend.
They sinking the skull to follow Balgon in.
The serpent's fame soon drew the attention of learned men from Boston and beyond. In August of 1817, members of the Linnaean Society of New England traveled to Gloucester, armed with spyglasses, sketchbooks, and the firm resolve to classify what the townsfolk swore they had seen. These naturalists were accustomed to skepticism, yet even they were startled when the creature appeared offshore, its long form gliding just beneath the surface. Some of the scientists recorded 20 or more humps rising in steady rhythm, each moving with what one described as the elegance of a serpent swimming in water. Another sketched the head as resembling a turtle's, elongated and raised, with a pale band at the throat. Measurements were attempted by triangulation across the harbor, yielding estimates of 60 to 100 feet in length. The Linnaean Society eventually published their findings, cautiously labeling the beast Scoliophis Atlanticus, the Atlantic humped snake. Though their report left room for doubt, it gave the creature a veneer of legitimacy, the weight of science pinned upon its shadow. But not all agreed. Some skeptics claimed the observers had merely seen a line of porpoises surfacing in sequence. Others argued for a monstrous eel or a whale accompanied by calves. Yet the consistency of sworn testimony and the sheer number of witnesses resisted such tidy explanations. In taverns and parlors, debate raged. Was Gloucester host to a living fossil, a serpent of the deep escaped from time itself? Or had the excitement of crowds conjured a monster from waves and imagination? Science had given the beast a name, but not an answer. The serpent slipped back into the water, leaving only ripples and questions. By late summer, Gloucester was no longer a fishing town but a stage for hysteria. Crowds pressed so thick along the waterfront that wagons could scarcely pass. Vendors sold spyglasses at inflated prices, taverns filled with travelers eager for stories, and every child in the town claimed to have seen the monster with their own eyes. The serpent was no longer just in the water. It was on the lips of everyone, woven into dreams and nightmares alike. But doubt followed closely. Rival towns mocked Gloucester for chasing shadows, printing satire that showed fishermen recoiling from floating logs or seaweed. Some skeptics pointed to natural explanations: basking sharks, giant eels, even groups of porpoises surfacing in sequence. Yet the consistency of accounts, so many respectable citizens swearing to the same undulating form, made such dismissals feel inadequate. The hysteria itself became proof for some. Ministers preached sermons warning against deception of the senses, reminding congregations that Satan could conjure illusions as easily as storms. Others argued the serpent was a divine sign, a beast loosed from revelation to remind men of their smallness before the Creator's sea. A Gloucester diarist wrote bitterly, "It is not the serpent alone that troubles us, but the fury it stirs. Our harbour is full of strangers, our streets of quarrels, our nights of restless talk. The creature has infected the town as surely as plague." As August waned, sightings grew fewer and skeptics claimed vindication. Yet the legend had already taken root. The serpent's absence became as potent as its presence, for it had left Gloucester not with certainty, but with the fever of having believed. As summer waned into early autumn, the great serpent was seen less often. Where once it had risen daily in the harbour, now it appeared only faintly offshore, glimpsed at twilight or in morning mist. Some watchers swore they saw its long body coiling beyond 10-Pound Island. Others pointed to disturbances in the water, ripples too large for seals, too slow for whales. The final clear account came from a group of fishermen in September. They reported the creature moving steadily out toward deeper waters, its humps glistening as the sun broke through cloud. "It was as though it were leaving us," one man said, "sliding back into the great deep where it belonged." After that, no sighting was confirmed. Still, rumors clung. A Boston trader swore he glimpsed the serpent off Cape Ann weeks later, but no corroboration followed. Children claimed to see it in their dreams. Mothers warned them to behave lest the monster return. The serpent had departed Gloucester's harbour, but it lingered in imagination, its absence as loud as its presence. By October, the town was weary of the spectacle. The crowds thinned, the taverns emptied, and fishing resumed its old rhythm. Yet something had changed. For a brief season, Gloucester had stood at the center of a mystery that no skeptic could fully explain, and that no believer could fully prove. The sea lay quiet again, but the memory of humps undulating in the water, of a head lifted above the surf, would haunt the town for generations. When the waters of Gloucester fell silent again, the serpent did not vanish. It transformed. In the years that followed, the story rippled far beyond Massachusetts. Sailors carried it down the coast, newspapers reprinted testimonies, and naturalists debated its nature in lecture halls. To some, It was evidence of a surviving leviathan, a beast from the depths that had revealed itself for a single season. To others, it was proof of mass hysteria, a case study of how crowds can conjure monsters from waves. Yet in Gloucester itself, the memory held differently. Diaries from the summer of 1817 remained in families, their pages faded but firm. Fishermen told the tale to apprentices as they mended nets. Children grew up hearing how their grandparents had seen humps undulating across the harbor. The serpent became part of the town's identity, half warning, half wonder. In the decades after, occasional reports of similar creatures surfaced along New England's coast, but none ever carried the weight of Gloucester's summer. The Linnaean Society's Scoliophis Atlanticus was quietly set aside, but the legend was never erased. Gloucester had looked into the sea and seen something vast, something unexplained, and that vision endured. Today, the serpent lives on not in the harbor but in stories, on plaques, in local lore, in the whispers of tourists scanning the gray water for a ripple too long to be a wave. Whether real or imagined, the creature became eternal in memory. For once seen by so many, it could never truly sink.